Thank you for watching. I am Montgomery, brand attorney and owner of Off the Mark IP Solutions, where I help clients throughout the United States own their genius through trademarks, copyrights, and contracts. Listen, I just want to come to you guys because yesterday I had the pleasure of speaking at Candy Publishing's Writer and Publishing Expo. My intentions were to go live, but it didn't work out. So what I wanted to do today was do a recap of yesterday's talk because it went over so well. There were so many writers that had questions about really how to protect their work. Like, what are trademarks, copyrights, and contracts? Like, what do all those things have to do with writing a book? So today what I'm going to do is give you a recap and just go over a couple of takeaways of yesterday's event. Are you ready? So one of the main takeaways from yesterday that I wanted the audience to walk away with was that there's a difference between copyrights and trademarks. They offer different protections, and you need to know what those protections are if you're a writer who wants to build a brand and expand that brand. So let's talk about that really quick. Copyrights. As an author, copyrights are your bread and butter. Copyrights protect original works that are in a fixed, tangible form. Remember what I said, fixed, tangible form, people. So therefore, if it's stuck up here, if you have something that's just like a book that's just burning inside of you and you haven't written it down, right, you don't have anything that can be protected. So that means that before you go out and tell everybody about this book that you want to write, or whatever else you might want to do, you want to put pen to paper, or maybe you want to do a voice recorder just to make sure that it is protected, because copyrights only protect original work that are in a fixed, tangible form. Fixed, tangible form. So that's what copyrights are, and that's what they protect. Trademarks, on the other hand, protect brand identifiers. Those are those things that when people see them, they're like, oh, yes, I know who does that. So they help consumers readily identify the source of a good or a service. So, for example, when we see that Nike swoosh, right? Or when we see that swoosh, we automatically think of Nike. When we see a tiger talking about it's great, we think about Tony the Tiger with Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, right? So those are the type of things that trademarks protect. So they should protect names, they protect logos, colors, sounds, smells. And sometimes, I'll tell you, sometimes there's an overlap between trademarks and copyrights. But because they offer different protections, in most cases it's warranted to get both of them. And let me just make this quick note right now, because I did tell you that trademarks protect names and phrases, and those phrases will be something along the line of taglines and slogans, not your book title. So neither copyrights nor trademarks protect your book title. So that's what I want to make sure that you understand. And we'll talk about maybe give you a little idea of what you can do to protect that sometime in the future in another video. But that is the thing I want you to take away with, is copyrights and trademarks are different. They offer different protections, and you need to know both of them if you're going to be an author, okay? Not only do copyrights and trademarks offer different protections, but the amount of time that they offer that protection for differs depending on whether or not you're registering a copyright or a trademark. So let's talk about that really quick. Copyrights. Your copyright will last 70 years after the death of the author, unless that work is owned by a business or a corporation. In that case, it will last 120 years. On the other hand, trademarks are good for as long as you use them. Okay? So as long as you have your mark that you're using as a brand identifier, then you're good. Now, you do have to submit proof every so often that you're actually using it as a trademark, but you don't have to worry about it expiring and going into public domain, right? And that's something that we talked about briefly yesterday during the conference. But again, this is just a really quick video, so we will not be able to get into that today. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew just some of the main takeaways that I want the audience to know was trademarks, copyrights different. Copyrights protect original works. Trademarks protect brand identifiers. Trademarks don't expire as long as you're using them, and copyrights do. Okay? And listen, what I want you to know is that in order to be a successful writer, you're going to need both of them. You can do either or in some cases, but really if you plan on being something more than an author, if you plan on your book being more than a book and you plan on creating a brand around it, you are going to need both copyrights and trademarks. So it's important for you to know that. The second thing I want to talk about, or one of the other takeaways from this, from yesterday's event, are contracts. People, contracts. As an author, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to use written agreements. And I'll tell you this, if we go back to trademarks and copyrights, if you don't have an understanding of trademarks and copyrights, you could get screwed. Like, you could literally just sign all your rights away. Unintentionally, of course, because we never intend to do something like that, right? It's just because we do it because we're signing things, and even though we're reading it, we don't really understand what we're reading. We don't know what to look for when we're reading these agreements. And so we talked about that yesterday, and what I want you guys to know about that from yesterday is that it's better to have a detailed agreement that's a little longer than a short agreement that doesn't do you any good. Like, it's useless because you were so worried about the other party not wanting to sign the agreement but because it's too long. Man, cut that out. Let me tell you. You're writing this agreement in order to protect yourself and even them. And it's business. It's not personal. If you have someone that says, oh, I don't want to enter into this agreement, I don't trust it because, it's such a long contract, you might want to think twice about going into business with them. You want to make sure that your agreement discusses things like what your obligations are. What are their obligations to you? What's the money looking like? Those are just some of the basic things that you want the agreement to talk about. You also want to know what your rights are under the agreements and what rights you're giving away. Just to name a few, and it can take more than 1 or 2 pages to spell that out. And if you need to do that, it's better to go ahead and take your time and write up an agreement that details your intentions, because this is what I found out. Common sense is not that common. So some things that you think, oh yeah, that's exactly what that means, the other person won't understand that. And this is what written agreements do. Written agreements give you an opportunity to communicate with the other party. So now there's no misunderstanding, because once you have this agreement, they read it, they say, oh, I didn't think that's what that meant when we said X, Y, and Z. And you can say, oh, well, that's exactly what I meant when I said, X, Y, and Z. And then you guys can talk about it, and now you guys can come to a mutual understanding and then put that understanding in the agreement. It's really important that whatever understanding you have, you put it in the agreement. Don't let anyone tell you that the agreement says this, but we can always do X, Y, and Z. Don't let them do that, because if there was ever a breach in the contract, you can't really rely on that side note that's outside of the agreement unless there's a clause in the agreement that says that they can depend on, that you can rely on outside communications in this agreement. And most of the time agreements don't say that, right? And like I said, this was just a quick video. I wish you guys were there. It was an awesome opportunity and a great expo. But this is what I decided to do, because there were so many people that had questions. And so many people told me that this was a training that as an author they really, really appreciated and really needed and want to go more in depth into. I am doing a live training on November 19th at 10 a.m. Central Time. If you want to be a part of that, if you're an author and you want to know how trademarks, copyright, and contracts affect you as an author, I invite you to be a part of that training. What we'll do is we'll go more in depth into some of the things that I talked about in this video. We'll go more in depth into trademarks, copyrights, and contracts. We're going to discuss things like public domain, fair use, ghostwriting, licensing agreements, copyright assignments when you're working with third parties and you're working with illustrators. We're going to talk about how, even though trademarks don't protect book titles, what that exception is and how you can really take that title and build a brand around it that can then be protected by trademarks. And that's just a few of the things that we're going to talk about in this training. If you want to be a part of this training, definitely register today. If registration does end on October 16th and it's limited to 50 people due to space, it is a virtual event. But due to space, it is capped at 50 people. Make sure you register. Make sure you share and tag one of your author friends. Matter of fact, tag all your author friends that can use this information in their life, okay? Until next time, keep owning your genius and building your brand. I'll talk to you later.